topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Draw me close to you, never let me go. I lay it all down again to hear you say that I'm your friend.
Today, the Almighty Creator desires a deep personal relationship with you. My name is James Robertson. I'm a researcher, publisher, and teacher regarding the matters and truths of the Almighty Creator, whose true name is Yah, the eternally self-existing. I've been actively serving him since 1993, over 32 years. If you're not actively serving Yah, then by default you're serving Satan. My objective is to show you how you can make a big difference on earth and qualify for a position of high esteem in heaven for eternity. It's important to understand that as a believer, just being good is not the point. It's relationship with Yah that counts. Without this, you will be in a very unpleasant place in heaven with no way out. My aim is to show you how to get close to Father. If you're a good person without a clear relationship with Yah, then you are in a spiritual no man's land and will not enter heaven when you die. The Creator has said regarding unbelievers, why would I want someone to spend eternity with me when they do not believe I exist? Yah is calling everybody on the planet to be involved and serve him and help him to have victory over Satan. Fundamentally, we each need to learn to see things on earth from Yah's perspective. Please visit my website at www.endtimeissueministries.org or email me on james@endtimeissueministries.org for more information or to ask questions. Today we're going to talk about the Torah Dilemma. What exactly is Torah? And this is part 3. So the overview, over a number of years I've had contact with various Messianic people who see themselves as Torah Observant and correctly see Yahooshua, incorrectly Jesus, as Messiah, the Anointed One who was to come. The question that arises, is whether Torah observance, as in a formal study of text and observance of texts, is relevant in this age. In saying this, while I've read the so-called Old Testament from Bereshith Genesis to Malaki Malachi over 20 times since I came to serve Father Yah intensely, Father has never impressed on me that I should become observant of some of those books at an intellectual works level. This broadcast explores the question, what exactly is Torah, and reaches a controversial conclusion. We will also review your relationship with the Creator. So this is based on the article 2024-1204, the Torah Dilemma, what exactly is Torah? And we're continuing the section, the Mattiyahu 5:17-18 conundrum. So consider in particular Hebrews 4 verses 14-16. Seeing then that we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Yahooshua, incorrectly Jesus, son of Yah, incorrectly God, let us hold fast our confession. For we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but was in all points tempted as we are, yet without sin. Let us therefore come boldly to the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need. So the Levitical priesthood was replaced once and for all by Yahshua. So all elements of the 5 books, that's Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, all elements of the 5 books dealing with the priesthood were fulfilled by Yahooshua, and therefore they fall away. In the broader context of this article, consider Hebrews 4:11-13. Let us therefore be diligent to enter that rest, lest anyone fall according to the same example of disobedience. For the word of Yah is living and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the division of soul and spirit and of joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart. And there is no creature hidden from his sight, but all things are naked and open to the eyes of to whom we must give account. Again, we see that it is the Spirit of Yah that moderates and judges us, not human beings or law books. Returning to the 5 books, continuing the discussion of whether the 5 books constitute the Torah, the 5 books write about what Moses did. That's certainly Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. They're clearly not written by Moshe, although in some locations they quote what Moshe said. Some claim that the 5 books were written by Moshe, which is clearly not true, as the most superficial reading will reveal. So, folks, there's a lot of tradition, hype, myth around those 5 books. There are people who believe that they were dictated to Moses by Yah before Moshe's death, setting out exactly what would happen. Setting out exactly what would happen after the death of Moses. And we've gone through that in quite a bit of detail here. Further, we're not glove puppets playing out our lives in some pre-orchestrated charade. This would be extremely unjust. Yah has clearly said to me that he does not know what I will do or say in 1 minute's time, let alone months or years from now. We were designed to operate autonomously, independently, and exercise our will and discretion in everything. The fact that we've turned out to be much more self-willed and foolish than Yah intended does not mean he plans our lives for us. We are the ones who mess up. Folks, this is so important. There's a widespread view that Yah has planned out my life. And implicit in that is an abdication of responsibility for how I live my life. Well, not me personally, but anyone who believes that. So there's songs about how Yah has planned out people's lives and how things have gone, are foreordained. And it's really not true. Father wanted friends who had the ability to make decisions, the ability to discern, the ability to create. He didn't want glove puppets. The fact that things went completely out of line with Satan and Adam and Chava, Eve, disobeying Yah and eating the forbidden fruit and handing control on earth to Satan. All sorts of things went wrong between the time that Yah set out to create us and those early days, and they've continued to go wrong since then. Yah did not intend us to live in this messed up, muddled up, mixed up world that we live in. His plan was perfection. And he gave it to Adam to look after. and Adam messed it up. So to impute a perfect just destiny for yourself or anyone else is just not right, folks. I mean, even Yahooshua, who came with a clearly defined role, exercised his will and his discretion and his choices moment by moment throughout his life. And that enabled him to qualify for a high throne for eternity. He wasn't some sort of glove puppet that Father put on the earth and then directed him. What's the point? I really ask you to see that. So it's actually a gross insult to Yah that in this messed up world to suggest that our lives are foreordained by Yah. There have been specific instances where Yah sets up an agenda with the Spirit before sending it to earth, as in the case most notably of Yahooshua that I touched on a minute ago. But this is by far the exception rather than the rule. We have to exercise our will and do what it takes to qualify for a reward in heaven of our own volition. And as I said a moment ago, that even then Yahooshua exercised his will throughout his life. If he had not, he would not have qualified for the highest throne, and his life without sin would be nothing to remark about. I hope you are understanding what I'm saying, folks. You are 100% accountable for what comes out of your mouth, where you go to, what you do when you get there, your relationships, your friendships, your wife, how you treat your wife, your husband, your children, your employer. It's all at your discretion, all by your choice. I can't stress this enough. Yah is not in control. In fact, things are so badly out of control that Yah has said, unless there is a dramatic turnaround in the next few years, there will not be a single significant believer left on the earth in 100 years' time. So let's say 2125, maybe 23, 22. It's also believed by many that the Torah provides guidelines for compliance with the laws of Yah, which I've referred to previously as jurisprudence. Again, much of the 5 books is history and not law, and certainly not jurisprudence. So the 5 books count even in that sense, be Torah or law. Folks, there's a whole lot of tradition, quite a bit of it passed down from Jewish believers. And the Jewish people lost their right to claim to be the chosen race when they killed their Messiah, their Anointed One, Yahooshua. Yahooshua came to set them free. They killed him. Yah and Yeshua expected that to happen, but it didn't have to happen. They exercised their will, their choice to kill their Messiah. At that point, the veil of the temple was rent from top to bottom, so it had to be done by Yah. And it showed that the Ark of the Covenant was not in the temple, in the set-apart place, the most set-apart place. So the high priest was a farce, false. The offering for atonement was false. The law of the covenant, the 10 Commandments in the Ark of the Covenant, had gone. At that moment in time, the people of Israel ceased to be Yah's chosen people, and the mantle passed to the early believers, those that followed Yahooshua. And then they moved on, and they moved on to Christianity and Jesus and Christmas and God and the Lord and by 600 years from the time of Yahooshua, they were so off track that Yah sent Muhammad, and the mantle passed to the Muslims. And the Muslims got so off track that along came Martin Luther, and the mantle passed to the Protestants. And in the 1990s, the Christian Protestant believers got so off track that the mantle was withdrawn from them. And since then, there is no chosen group of people. The playing field is level and open to you, no matter where you come from, no matter what race you are, no matter what religion you are. Yah is looking to you to seek to become his friend, even if you're an out-and-out Satanist. Note the true law, as in the laws of your country, wherever you are listening to this, is very specific. It's highly structured. It's definitive. It closes all loopholes. And the vast majority of the writings in the 5 books do not meet this requirement. Folks, what I would say to you is, if you are someone who says that the 5 books, say again, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, if you are one that believes that those are the Torah, that they're given by Yah, that they're definitive, I just encourage you to take the blinkers off for a minute and read those 5 books, thinking critically, as quickly as possible, without asking questions, just taking notes. And then at the end, tell me sincerely whether you think that that is law, because I suggest for your consideration that it is not. Further, if the 5 books are a book of law, as many claim, it is clearly apparent from careful reading that the 5 books are not law, the point I just made. It's also apparent on careful reading that the individual books are made up of disjoint fragments and not one coherent statement of laws and associated jurisprudence. It is my contention that this results from reassembling fragments during the exile in Babylon, and we've spoken about that. As noted previously, there are sections, primarily in Leviticus, that are moderately structured and take a form that can be regarded as law. But that's it, folks. This whole thing about the Bible is the Word of God. The 5 books are the Word of Yah. It just doesn't hold water if you take that wrong belief and put it on one side and read carefully. Now, I want to stress, folks, is what I'm saying. I've read from Genesis to Revelation over 20 times in numerous different translations. I've read from Matthew to Revelation another 15 or so times. I have curated a version of the Bible, the whole Protestant Bible, all 66 books, with a whole lot of errors corrected, and you can find that on the website. So I do know what I'm talking about. I'm not talking theoretically about the Bible or the 5 books. I'm talking from a base of a thorough understanding and a thorough knowledge of those 5 books. And then, as stated before, there's a significant portion of the 5 books that deals with the tabernacle, the Ark of the Covenant, the priesthood, the induction of the high priest, the offerings for repentance and atonement for sin, the institution of the new covenant, of the covenant with Moshe. All of that text in the 5 books was fulfilled through the death of Yahooshua and replaced with a new and better covenant. Note Hebrews 8:13. In saying new, he has made obsolete the first, and that which is growing old and aging is near vanishing. Note near vanishing, disappearing, disappearance, obliteration. Also Hebrews 12:24, and to Yahooshua, the mediator of a new covenant, and to the sprinkling of blood leading to better things than that of Abel. It's important to understand that when he died and there was an earthquake and a crack was formed from the foot of the stake on which he died, and his side was pierced, where he died of a broken heart because Yah took his spirit from him. His side was pierced with a spear, and blood and water ran down the stake, down the earthquake crack onto the lid of the Ark of the Covenant. It's really important to understand that, folks, because once you understand that, the whole death of Yahooshua becomes much more meaningful, much more understandable in terms of what he accomplished. And that information has only been available since 1982, when Ron Wyatt discovered the Ark of the Covenant after Father miraculously showed him where it was. There's an article on the website, The Miraculous Planning of the Death of Yahooshua, Where, How, and What. If you go onto the website, the little 3 dots at the top right-hand side of your browser, which will vary slightly depending which browser you're using, click on that, you get a drop-down menu, and one of the options will be search in this page or something similar, or find in this page. You click on that, you start typing miraculous into that search bar, and it'll find the article for you. So, a point that I've made several times, but it is fundamental that you understand this. We're left with the 10 commandments and various verses which amplify the 10 as limited jurisprudence, plus the great commandment, love Yah with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, plus a limited amount of other jurisprudence as elaboration, quite a bit of which is obsolete. So I want to suggest for your consideration, folks, that the true Torah, the Torah written in our hearts, is the 10 commandments. So the best one can say is that true Torah as law is made up of these last few items. And even quite a few of these are set aside in the New Testament. For example, the prohibition with regard to eating unclean animals is set out in Acts 10:9-16. The next day, as they went on their journey and drew near the city, Peter went up on the housetop to pray about the 6th hour. Then he became very hungry and wanted to eat, but while they were made ready, he fell into a trance, and he saw heaven opened, and an object like a great sheet, bound at the 4 corners, descending to him, let down to the earth. In it were all kinds of 4-footed animals of the earth, wild beasts, creeping things, and birds of the air. And a voice came to him, "Rise, Peter, kill and eat." But Peter said, "Not so, Adonai." Incorrectly, Lord, for I have never eaten anything common or unclean. And a voice spoke to him again the second time. What Yah has cleansed, you must not call common. This was done 3 times, and the object was taken up into heaven again. There are other verses which confirm this. When I first published this article back in December, a chap on the mailing list took issue with me and said, no, this was to show that Kepha, Peter, should go to the Roman centurion. And that's true, but it doesn't alter the fact that he was told to kill and eat. And this guy got into a whole thing about that I was out of line with this point that I've just made. Folks, things that amongst many things that I continue to increasingly understand is that there is a huge amount of the Bible that is contaminated by the beliefs and attitudes of the people who wrote it down. There are also things about things that were applicable 3,000 years ago that are not necessarily applicable today. So to a crowd of people in the middle of a wilderness, a desert, with limited food and resources, there were some dietary restrictions. But I really suggest for your consideration that whether you eat a bit of pork now and again or a bit of shellfish has absolutely nothing to do with your relationship with Yah. Having said that, I went through a period where I actively believed that those things were forbidden, and I generally hardly ever touch pork. I hardly ever touch shellfish. But I do it now out of a choice, believing that Father says that's not the best for you. Not out of some religious thing which says, I'm going to get in trouble with God because I had a bit of pork crackling or something. There's a lot in the Bible that is a manifestation of the prejudices and the issues of the people who wrote it. And there's more which is relevant to that time in history, but isn't necessarily relevant today. And it may be relevant if you're living in a country with poverty and pigs in dirty settings. Maybe then pork is not ideal. There's evidence reported that eating pork is not particularly good for you. There's a difference between saying, Yah has said, pork's not that good for you, so rather don't eat it, as opposed to God says you mustn't eat pork. And I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill here, but I just want to make that point. And then there's the Shaul or Paul credibility issue. Note that the word Paul, again, is one of these meaningless English words coming out of meaningless Greek words. He was a Hebrew, Shaul. And that's just a manifestation of the corrupt thinking that went into the English translation of the Bible way back in the time of King James. And it's just been slavishly followed and followed and followed, and a whole huge body of tradition, etc., has built up around it. My focus is, let's get back to the basics, let's get back to the fundamentals. So note that insofar as Hebrews in particular is attributed to Shaul, Paul, It is important to note that the final quest, chapter 6, verses 129 to 232, reports Shaul seated on a very high throne in heaven. So he is clearly esteemed by Yah, and seeking to discount his teachings, as some do, is not valid. This discounting is particularly done by people who have an intellectual engagement with the 5 books as supposedly formal Torah law, something that Shaul corrected in a number of his writings, as we've seen above in Hebrews. Shaul moved from being an intense Torah keeper to being highly spirit-led, and some Torah keepers find this offensive and speak ill of him. Further, there are all sorts of details in the books of good news, the Gospels, of the so-called New Testament, the books from Malaki Malachi to Revelation, Matthew to Revelation, and attributed to Yahooshua that are not contained anywhere in the Old Testament. For example, with regard to the woman caught in adultery, Yeshua calls on those without sin to cast the first stone and all walk away. Yahooshua incorrectly, John 8, chapter 8, verse 11. So Yahooshua adds a new context to the jurisprudence regarding the commandment regarding adultery. 5 books also do not include numerous items of jurisprudence that are contained in the End Time Issue Ministries website and other publications by others led by the Spirit. And I've talked about that before. I'm not going to go into it here. The thing about the cast the first stone for the woman caught in adultery, strictly speaking, there's a death penalty for breaking any one of the 10 commandments. In practice, it turns out that death penalty is more stringently applied in some cases than in others. But the principle of the woman caught in adultery is Yahooshua is saying, you cannot judge if you have sin. So before you call out somebody as a sinner, before you condemn somebody, you need to examine yourself, and if you have sin, back off, shut up, and deal with your sin. Judge not, lest thou also art judged. Do not remove the speck from your brother's eye until you have removed the plank from your own eye. Those are just a few sayings of Yahooshua. Folks, there is so much of this which is about the difference between intellectual head rules and spirit-led heart rules. Being led by the Spirit. So you can either get close to Yah and have him guide you, or you get close to some books and mess up like the people messed up who put Yahooshua to death. So it is my contention that the only law, the only Torah written by Yah in person is the 10 Commandments. It makes sense that this is what he writes on the heart of true believers. So looping back to the discussion of true Torah, we have to conclude that since the 10 Commandments are the only law spoken out to the masses in person by Yah and carved by him on tablets of stone, indicating they will never change, this constitutes the true Torah and is the Torah that Yah writes on the hearts of true believers. As a counterpoint to that, the mark of the beast. And there's all sorts of really silly stuff that's been written about the microchip for the last goodness knows how many years. Folks, from what I can see, the microchip is not going to happen because since the microchip was first talked about, we have got fingerprint recognition. I can't do a banking transaction on my mobile phone without first applying my fingerprint. Retina recognition, voice recognition, etc. Face recognition. It is probable that in a large number of countries, your police know who you are and have a database about you linked to pictures of your face, whether it be on your passport or anything else. The microchip is unnecessary, folks. And it is not the mark of the beast. It has never been the mark of the beast. So above the point that I've just made that the Torah is the Ten Commandments, in around 2000, I was told by Father that the mark of the beast is a mark indicating that a person is breaking at least one of the Ten Commandments, and consequently that virtually the entire planet was carrying the mark. See, the mark of the beast is breaking any of the Ten Commandments, not the microchip. As I understand things, right now today, at most, there are a few dozen people on the planet who don't have the mark of the beast, and that few might be as little as 1 dozen, might be less than a dozen people. Because just about everybody is at some level breaking the Ten Commandments, even if it's little lies. So in conclusion, taking account of all that I've said over the last 3 weeks, I conclude that if one is going to rely on a definition of Torah based on the Jewish Bible, one must of necessity limit oneself to the Ten Commandments and the Great Commandment, and a limited amount of jurisprudence, which is consistent with what I've been teaching by the Spirit for some years. It is reasonable to expect any believer who comes to relationship with Yah, wherever they may be and in whatever society they live, to live a life consistent with the Ten Commandments led by the Spirit. However, this may take time given the level of error in all formal religions of the world today. That said, it is my experience that when a true believer, one who has the commandments written on their heart, hears truth that they lack, they very quickly accept it and course correct. Conversely, it is not reasonable to expect anyone to live a life that is governed by the 5 books, let alone the additional 613 mitzvot, without massive intellectual study and memorization, which totally takes them away from the Spirit-led relationship that Yah desires. It is therefore my conclusion and declaration that the Torah prescribed by Yah and written on the hearts of true believers is the Ten Commandments and the Great Commandment, no more and no less. And frankly, if you're breaking the Great Commandment, love Yah, the eternally self-existing with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, you're not on the playing field, you're an unbeliever. So in the context of this discussion for true believers, you should be keeping the Ten Commandments, which means you know what the Ten Commandments are. Yah is one. Don't worship Jesus. Don't worship Muhammad. Don't worship anyone else. No idols. Don't worship the Bible. Don't worship the Quran. Don't worship the books of Moshe, whatever you want to call them, the 5 books. Do not take the name of Yah in vain. Don't call him God, the Lord. Don't call Jesus, Yahooshua, Jesus, etc. Keep the Sabbaths. Saturday, not Sunday. The 6 set-apart days. You don't observe Christmas or Easter or whatever, and so on. That is the Torah that you should be focused on keeping. And that means that you can be taught by the Spirit. You can be living in absolute isolation in some remote outlying place in the wilderness, in the bush, or wherever, and still come to a saving knowledge of the Creator through your observation of the creation around you, and you can still be filled with His Spirit without knowing really what you're doing, and you can then keep His Torah, His 10 Commandments. And there's a video on the website of a chap living in the jungle in West Africa who came in such a way to a relationship with Yah. And he was led by the Spirit out of the jungle, met some Christian missionaries, and they taught him a bit, and then he started teaching them about being led by the Spirit. And they took him back to the United States, and he taught there powerfully for a number of years. It is entirely possible for any human being anywhere on this planet to come to a saving knowledge of Yah and keep the 10 Commandments by the Spirit of Yah, without any missionaries, without any Bibles, without any of this other stuff. And I urge you to get that, folks. This is not about an intellectual, I must have a Bible thing. It's about a spiritual, I recognize creation. I recognize the signature of the Creator. I believe the Creator exists, and I choose to serve Him. So in closing, what is the state of your relationship with the Creator? I'd like to ask you to critically examine where you are relative to Him today. Do you talk to Him constantly throughout the day and allow Him to lead you in every possible way? Do you worship Him at every opportunity? Have you clearly and unambiguously heard Him call you friend? If not, you're failing in your life purpose, and you'll be bitterly disappointed when you die. If you have now come to belief, please pray along the following lines. Father Yah, I come to you in the name of Yahooshua. I now believe that you exist. I confess my sin of unbelief, and I repent of my unbelief, and I ask you to forgive my sin. I now commit my life to you, and I ask you to take me by the hand and lead me into deep relationship with you. I ask you to fill me with your Spirit and to change me and help me to become the person you want me to become. I ask you to help me find people who can help me and help me find books, websites, articles, and other resources that help me. I ask you to show me what I can do to actively serve you and lead others to deep personal relationship with you. I thank you for saving me. There's a period of 8 days from sincerely coming to belief for the first time, during which there is extreme grace, emunah, to help you. See the article, sorry, that's not emunah, it's chen. See the article, Critical Actions on First Belief, for actions you should take immediately. Drop me an email at james@endtimeissueministries.org so I can help you, pray with you, counsel you, etc. In closing, thank you for listening. Please send me your questions to james@endtimeissueministries.org. Please email me to join the mailing list at james@endtimeissueministries.org. If you decide to draw close to the Almighty, please let me know, and I'll connect with you by Zoom, Teams, email, LinkedIn, Facebook, WhatsApp, or telephone so that I can help you with your journey. I hope to connect with you again next week when I will continue to explore how to become a friend of the Creator. Work with me to make a way for Yahooshua to return in victory at the end of the millennium and make his enemies his footstool. Folks, you exist for one reason only: to be a friend of the Almighty Creator. If that is not your primary life focus, you will be very disappointed at the end of your life. And building on what I said a few minutes ago, it does not matter if you are an out-and-out Satanist, witch, or warlock. It doesn't matter if you're a Hindu or a Muslim or a Christian or a Jew or a whatever. Doesn't matter if you're African, Indian, Asian, European, American, whatever. Doesn't matter if you're black, white, or whatever. It doesn't matter whether you're educated or uneducated, rich or poor, short or tall, thin or fat, blonde hair and blue eyes, black hair and brown eyes, anything in between. The Creator of the heavens and the earth wants a deep personal relationship with you. And I ask you just to step out to him and say, Father Yah, I believe, I want to become your friend. Please help me to get there. So folks, I'm out of time. If you've only been on this channel for a week or two, please stay on. I've got something I want to share with you. If you've been listening for a while, I guess you're going to drop off now. So I'm going to say good night to you. And for the rest of you who stay behind, please just hang on. So in closing, who am I? James Robertson. I have a doctorate in engineering and I'm a retired military commander. And now work as a management consultant. I have over 32 years' experience of actively seeking to draw close to the Almighty, following a dramatic encounter with him on the 12th of March 1993, when he spoke to me audibly in a locked room and I knew for certain that he was real. In learning about Father, I applied my deep-seated aversion to failure born out of an accident in early childhood, coupled to my engineering and military training of rigor in preventing failure, to my seeking of knowledge about Father. This journey led to numerous supernatural experiences, prayers answered, and clear communication with the Creator. It forms the basis for what I teach in these programs. See the video, Why Seek Relationship, for an overview of what I believe. Please visit my website at www.endtimeissueministries.org. The ETI version of the Bible with correction of translation errors is on the ETI Bible version page. For recordings of nearly all of the teachings broadcast so far, go to www.relationshipwithcreatorradio.com or search on Google for Relationship with Creator Radio in quotes. Transcripts are on the Transcripts of Broadcasts page. Books with teachings from 1998 until May 2019 are on the Books for Printing page. I publish regular email articles. Email me on james@endtimeissueministries.org to be added to the list or to seek counsel or prayer or give me feedback. Visit the website and use the article keyword cloud, table of contents, article search, and Google search to locate the information you're looking for. Folks, that's it. I'm out of time. Thanks so much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you next week. All the best.
Father, I come to you, lifting up my hands. By your grace I stand, just because you love me. I know your favor.
Hi, I'm James Robertson. Do you truly understand the Torah, the law of the Creator that is written on the hearts of true believers? If you're not sure, then please listen to my broadcast on w4cy.com internet radio or talk4tv.com internet TV. Also visit my website at www.endtimeissueministries.org and www.relationshipwithcreatorradio.com for back issues of my broadcasts, or email me on james@endtimeissueministries.org to find out more. I look forward to hearing from you. Have a great day.